Welcome to the Hey Soul Sista podcast, where Mel Histon will guide you through life's big questions and bring you one step closer to doing this crazy journey as best you can.
Hey Soul Sisters, I was really fortunate recently to attend a 3-day mindfulness retreat with my mindfulness guru, Charlotta Thurrott, which you would have heard on Hey Soul Sista. She's been on here many times, sharing all her mindfulness wisdom with us. Anyway, so I was at a retreat with Charlotta at the most wonderful location, Winmark Wines in the Hunter Valley. And for those of you who know me, I am a massive Chardonnay lover, so I was in heaven at Winmark because it has the most amazing Chardonnay wines. Chardonnay producing vineyard in the Hunter. What more could you want? Anyway, we were hosted by its owner, Karin Adcock, who I very quickly learned is just an amazing woman. And so I had to invite her onto Hey Soul Sista podcast to learn more about her story, her achievements, her life learnings, and maybe she can share her life learnings with all of you too, so that we can navigate this crazy journey as best that we can. You see, before Karin created Winmark Wines, she was already a really very highly accomplished, awarded businesswoman. She was actually Telstra Businesswoman of the Year in 2010, which is awesome, and has won numerous other awards. So why is she so accomplished? Well, you know those awesome little jewellery pieces that we all fell in love with years ago, Pandora? Karin was actually the woman who brought Pandora jewellery to Australia. She introduced it to Australia back in 2004 and launched it from her garage in Avalon, and then went for national domination, which I love. Anyway, I've got Karin here with me today. Hey, Karin, how are you going?
Yes, good. How are you?
Oh, it's so great to have you in here on Hey Soul Sista.
Thanks so much for having me.
You are one amazing, very accomplished soul sister. I mean, when I was at Winmark Wines, you were very humble. You know, I could see that this is amazing vineyard. It's so beautiful there. Beautiful house, vineyards, sculptures everywhere. But I actually didn't really know anything about you. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, Karin's done all these amazing things.
I love having people coming to Winmark. For me, it's all about sharing that beautiful place and people having a nice time out. And I actually get a lot out of just seeing that enjoyment in people. So it's not about me, it's about the property and them feeling rested, peaceful. And we often talk about Winmark as a place to connect.
Yeah.
And that's just really what we want people to do when they get there, connect with themselves, connect with nature, connect with the friends or family they come with.
Yeah.
And just have a really nice time out.
I certainly really got that. I mean, I was on a mindfulness retreat, so we were being mindful and doing meditations and things. But that valley that you were in at Broke and the countryside, it's just so peaceful there. And of course, you produce amazing Chardis. So now,
thank you.
I'm really curious. How did you start your career? I mean, you're from Denmark. You can tell from that Danish accent. How did you start? How did you come to be here and do all those things?
So I came to Australia in 1995 and I have met my ex-husband, but I met him at a bus stop up in Hong Kong.
At a bus stop?
At a bus stop.
I love that.
And ended up traveling to Australia to live with him 6 months later. And I came literally with 2 suitcases and a couple of $1,000s in my pocket, and that was all I had.
Wow.
And had to kind of reinvent myself and work out, so what am I going to do now? I was 31 years at the time, and it was exciting, but also a bit daunting, and I had very much decided I was going to stay in Australia for good. And initially, when people asked me, so how long are you here for? And I said, no, I'm here for good. And they looked at me, I couldn't quite comprehend that. So I realized that I can't say that. Maybe I'll just say I'm here for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So for quite a while, I kept saying I'm here for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And eventually they stopped asking.
Yeah.
And I've now been here for almost 27 years and love being in Australia.
Oh, and had you done a business degree or anything back in Denmark? Had you studied business?
No, I am trained as a school teacher, but never worked as a school teacher. I did some training as part of the 4-year education where I worked in schools, and I did love working with the kids, but I knew that actual teaching was not for me. I worked in Denmark for about 10 years doing project management and big building projects, and also worked at a couple of very large farms in the Middle America, and that gave me the experience in working on farms. I wasn't daunted when I first saw Winmark, or back then it was called Pools Rock. I just saw that as a really exciting challenge, and I think that I have spent some time in my young years working at very large farms, made it easier for me to take on the challenge.
So what were you doing working on large farms in Middle America?
It was part of, I think it was part of my training, really. The company I worked with, they sent me to Belize for 6 months, where I worked at the time on one of the biggest mango farms in the world, and I had to, plant all these little mango trees and create a nursery for mango trees, and that was my project for 6 months, and we planted about 100,000 mango trees. It was quite an exciting thing to be allowed to do. I think I was 23 years old at the time, and I had no idea what I was doing. I'm very much learning by doing on the job.
Which I think is the best way to learn sometimes, learning by doing.
And I think I was often thrown into situations where I had to learn really quickly. Yeah. And the people I worked for believed in me and believed I could do it. So therefore, I had to raise to the occasion, and certainly later in life, with the people I have dealt with, I've often allowed people to grow by entrusting that they were capable of doing projects which they possibly didn't think themselves they could do, but by being entrusted a challenge or a project, they actually rose to the occasion and learned so much along the way and took ownership of it.
Yeah, so when you took on Winmark, created Winmark, that wouldn't have been so daunting.
No, it wasn't. Yeah. At the time, driving in to the property, I actually came there thinking, I'm definitely not going to get involved with the vineyard, and then drove into the property and fell completely in love with it. And then within a week, suddenly, we owned a vineyard, and we had to start that.
Want to save your soul? Review us on Apple Podcast.
Okay, so you arrive in Australia. You've been working on farms in Middle America. You come into Australia, and at some stage you decide that you're going to pitch for the rights to bring Pandora to Australia. What made you think to do that? That's a big thing to do.
Yeah, so the first 10 years I was in Australia, I did quite a few different things. Just before I started Pandora, I had started a little soft furnishing company, which I ran from home while I had my girls at the time.
Now, I imagine that you're very stylish, because every Danish person I know, which is a few, they're all incredibly stylish, and I've seen Winmark. I've seen your home. It's stylish.
Thank you. So I do love creating beautiful homes and put things together, and I keep changing things around. And part of my work I've been doing in Denmark were to do furnishings and renovations of schools. So I thought maybe I could do a little soft furnishing business and combine my skills with also being a mom and work from home. So I did that for 2 years and had quite a bit of work coming through, but I made no money. Pretty much every customer I got ended up becoming good friends.
Yeah.
And the good friends got mates rates.
Yeah.
So I had all this work coming through and did not actually make any money.
That's one of the hardest things in business, isn't it, is the mates rates, because you kind of initially, when you start a business, rely on friends and family. Yeah. That's kind of tough trying to navigate that.
Yeah, now it is very difficult, and I'm very clear now when I have friends which are doing a service, which is their line of work, always saying to them, look, I don't want mate rates. You've got to charge me what it costs you, because otherwise you're not going to make this work. And obviously you're always looking for getting a good deal, but I think if you are ever asking somebody to do a job for you, you actually got to be fair about that they're trying to make a living too.
I agree, absolutely. And I also, I know it's a little bit woo-woo, but I also believe there's something karmic in that as well. It's like if you value others, that they will value you back.
Yeah. During my 2 years of doing the soft furnishing, I had a school mum which wanted me to help with some curtains or some blinds to her room, and I worked my butt out. I think it took me about 5 days and ended up doing it on a very short time frame because she had some family coming in and suddenly she needed it. And when I then presented her with what I thought was a very good price, she got mortified and was very upset that I charged her what I did, and I charged her less than half the going rate. And it just did something to our relationship, because I thought, but hang on, you surely wouldn't have expected me to spend my last 5 days working 10 hours a day to do these blinds for you.
Yeah.
And they were difficult to do and then not pay for it at all.
Yeah.
So, you got to be careful when you're asking friends to do things. And that actually taught me always to make sure that I was very fair if I ever asked friends to do a job for me.
And also be really clear, I think, up front as well.
Yeah.
Be very clear and go, actually, this is what it's going to cost.
Yeah.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
Before I go ahead.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
When I had done that for 2 years, I either had to open up a much bigger shop and really make that a much more volume coming through, so I could start making some money, or stop altogether.
Yeah.
So I had just had a very good friend from Denmark visiting, and she had told me about Pandora in Denmark. So I thought, maybe I should have a look at that.
Yeah.
Because I'd always looked for something to bring in from Denmark.
Because it's a Danish brand.
Yeah,
Pandora's Danish.
Yeah, that's right. So I ended up taking my oldest daughter, which was 7, and my baby daughter, which was 9 months old, and take the two of them back with me to Denmark, because I wanted to pursue whether maybe I should try to get Pandora into Australia. And I left I had another daughter, or have another daughter, but at the time she was 18, 19 months old or so. So I had 3 kids under 7.
Wow.
So I contacted Pandora in Denmark when I got there and got a meeting with them. And long story short, but I ended up getting the agency, and later in life realized that I only got the agency for 2 reasons. One was I was Danish, so they didn't need to speak English. And secondly, we were so far away, so if it didn't work, it didn't matter.
Wow, and I love that. I love you're a mum with 3 little kids, and that's why I find it fascinating that you had the courage and the foresight to do that. I mean, it's so ballsy. I love it.
But I have to be honest, though, when I had that initial meeting with Pandora, I kept talking about my 7-year-old daughter. I did not mention my 2 daughters under 2 because I thought, if I do say that I have 2 children under 2, there's no way I'll get this agency.
Yeah.
I think it was hard enough for them to come to terms with the fact that I had no experience whatsoever in the jewellery industry. But we had a really good conversation around how we could bring Pandora to Australia, and I think that was ultimately why I ended up getting the agency. And a couple of years later, I sent them a Christmas card with all these kids, and I thought, where did these kids come from?
They were always there. They were always there.
Yeah.
Now, I read in an article that you paid $35,000 for the rights.
No, I don't know where that came from, but I borrowed $35,000 from my father. I didn't pay anything for the rights. We just got the right to distribute the brand here.
Yes.
And in fact, when we got the contract, I took it to some lawyers, and they looked at it and said, look, at the end of the day, this contract is not worth the paper it's written on. If we go back with all the things we really should put in to secure you better, it will cost you a fortune, and they probably wouldn't accept it anyway. So he said the best thing you can do is just to build a really strong relationship with the owner of the brands, and then hopefully that will carry you through. And I decided to do that. And although we were the market which were furthest away from Pandora in Denmark, we are dare to say, we were the market which were closest with them around how we would develop the brand.
And that's really important, isn't it? Relationships. Yeah. Relationships is really important, working with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And without a doubt, when Pandora were sold off to private equity 5 years later, the founder of Pandora was very insistent that they had to look after me and make sure that they worked out a proper deal with us, because we had been such an integral part in growing the brand. And at that time, Pandora were in, I think, about 60 countries, and Australia represented 15% of the global turnover.
Wow.
And we were the 3rd largest market, and actually for a little while we were the 2nd biggest market. Wow. So we had a very big impact also on Pandora globally.
Want to fill your soul with more? Go to thesisterco.com.
I remember being at a wedding, and 2 women that were there had just come back from Europe, and they said, have you heard? Pandora is in Australia. And I was like, I hadn't heard of Pandora. And they were like, oh no, we've just been in Europe. Pandora's everywhere. It's amazing. It's this jewellery. And they were describing it to me. And one of the women actually had a Pandora bracelet on that she had bought over in London. And they were just raving about it. And they were so excited it was in Australia. And then it seemed as though next thing, boom, it was everywhere. How did you do that? So you started off in your garage. humble beginnings. And the next thing, Pandora is all over Australia. It's 15% of the global market.
Yep. So it took a little while. The first year, we really only got 36 accounts going, and they were. It was mainly gift stores which were selling Pandora. A lot of jewellery stores, or pretty much every jewellery store went into said, oh yeah, that's nice, but no, it's not for us. We'd rather spend time on selling a $5,000 diamond ring than selling a $25 Pandora charm.
Yeah.
And it took a little while. The gift stores which came on board with the concept loved it and really started to promote it amongst their customers. And it's very much a brand that once you have bought the bracelet, and then you need to start adding charms to it.
Yeah.
So one customer suddenly becomes 10 customers because you come back and you want to replenish and get another piece, or some of your friends come in to buy your charms. So it builds very quickly from there. And now a very good friend of mine, but back then I didn't know her, Lindsay Evans, which were from New Zealand, but was selling watches across Australia into one of the big jewellery chains. I met her. And she started selling Pandora into jewellery stores. And that was probably, I think, a year and a half after we had started. And as Lindsay were travelling around and a couple of jewellery stores started selling it, and they realised what opportunity there was with the brand, they started to talk to one another.
Yeah.
And we started getting many, many more jewellery stores on board.
Because it's the ultimate gift. I remember it's like if it was our daughter's birthday or a niece's birthday or a friend's birthday, we'd go to Pandora and buy it started off being a charm, but then it'd be a ring or... Yeah.
I've had a lot of men saying that Pandora is made for men. It has taken the headache out of gift giving.
Oh, that's so true, isn't it? Yeah. So you started off selling to retailers, and then all of a sudden Pandora stores popped up. So was that like a strategic decision?
Yes, so there was a global strategic decision made that we were to start doing concept stores. And it was very much to make sure that we could present what the overall brand was all about. Because we found that some stores just wanted to focus on their charms, were a bit reluctant in taking on the rings, for example, and yet those stores which were selling rings, you could see that they were doing really well. But it was very much up to the individual stores what they wanted to sell. And yet we could see that could potentially be so much more opportunity here with the brand if it was done in a more branded environment. So there was a direction coming out from Denmark that we were to start doing concept stores and do franchise stores. I mean, at the time, I could hardly spell to franchising. We engaged a franchise specialist and a law firm which was specializing in doing franchise agreements, and spent quite some time in really working right through. So what is franchising? How does it work? What is the difference between when you do a shop-in-shop environment versus a full franchise store or a concept store? And that took us some time to develop that whole concept. But we were actually the first market, again, which had a proper 100% concept store, which were fully branded. And we did that in QVB.
Yeah.
And when we were doing the opening 6 weeks after we had just built this amazing store, which had costed us a fortune at the time. And back then we owned the business, my husband and I. At the opening, the management of QVB said, "Oh, would you like to have the store next door?" Because we had that many people queuing up outside the store, and we just couldn't look after people in the store. There was just not enough space. So we had just spent $400,000 on fitting out the 36 square meters, and then literally, of course, we said yes to have the store next door. And then we had to go through Christmas because we were so close to Christmas, and that was really difficult managing that out of the 36 square meters. But we did that, and then we closed down after Christmas and invested in doing the double space. And that was the start of building the concept stores across Australia and New Zealand.
Well, I remember when Pandora came to our local shopping centre at Westfield Katara.
Yeah.
And I remember that it was so exciting. Pandora's here, and it was the same. People just love it.
Yeah.
And even now, I go to Pandora for gifts for our son's girlfriends and people. I go, you can always find something.
Yeah. And that store in Katara, that was our very first franchise store.
Really?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Let's get soulful on social media. Search the Sister Code Facebook page and follow us on Instagram.
What was going on for you at that time? I mean, was your head just spinning going, you can't believe the success of that? You opened up at QVB, there's people lined up to get in. Was that like mind-blowing for you that it was that successful?
There's several elements here. So one thing, when you get really, really busy, you often don't actually have time to even have those thoughts. It's just all about how do I get through tomorrow?
Yeah.
and how do we get through the next project? But certainly after about 3 years, I really started thinking, gee, this is getting very big here. And I have no formal training in business. You know, I can hardly read a spreadsheet or a P&L. And my husband was flying for Qantas, so he was away a lot, but he was doing the books and the IT. He was doing the accounts and IT,
yeah.
While also being a pilot. And there was a point where we had to get some more help and some senior guys on board. And there was a time where I just didn't think I could do the job because there was so much I didn't know. And I got a business coach on board. And that was really good because she said that she spent about 95% of her time coaching senior leaders in business on how to deal with people and how to appreciate emotional intelligence and how to get people on board and come with them on the journey. Again, I didn't even really know about that concept, but it came to me naturally. So she said, what we need to do with you is that we bolster you up with a really strong management team so you get the skills around you which you need to take the business to the next level, but you can still be the glue which are pulling it all together.
Yeah.
And that's what we set out to do.
I've just learnt so much from you in that last 2 minutes of what you said. I love it. Do you know what? A couple of years ago, I was very fortunate to go to Necker Island and spend some time with Richard Branson doing a leadership retreat there.
Yeah.
And that's something that he said. He said that he always employs people who knows more than he does. And that he has those people who are experts at what they do around him. Yeah, because you can't be everything to everyone.
Yeah. And also, I'm not afraid of saying that I don't know that. And I don't understand that. And I think sometimes it's good when you have somebody who is a specialist in a field.
Yeah.
And then you have someone coming in and just asking a layman's question, but why?
Yeah.
And those whys are often really good to actually getting the outcome you want to get.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting a very strong management team around me and very much became the glue which kept it all together.
Yeah. I love that. I have found the recruitment process, like with Got Your Back Sister, I have found that really challenging. I don't enjoy the recruitment process. Did you have any problems with that personally or picking the wrong people?
When we had about 35 staff, I realized that we need to have a very strong HR person on board. So initially we engaged a HR manager, but the business quite quickly actually outgrew her too. And then I got a very senior HR manager on board who came from an organization with over 200 staff.
Yeah.
And getting her on board really helped me. We were very clear on what our vision and mission for our brand was. And when we were recruiting, it was about 70-80% on value fit.
Yeah.
And obviously they had to know the specific field we wanted them to get into. But it was more important for us that the fit was right than just recruiting for the actual skill set.
I absolutely agree. You've got to have a value fit, haven't you? And people that actually really love what the company's about, what you do.
Yeah. There was a couple of times that we got it wrong. But we were then very quick to act on it. I mean, we had one person in, I think she lasted a week.
Yeah.
She couldn't say good morning to her staff and were just not talking respectfully to the staff she had. And people came to me and said, what on earth is going on? Like, what?
Who is this person?
Are we supposed to report to that person? And she does. Yeah. So we parted very quickly with her. And there was a gentleman as well. Similarly, first thing he wanted to do was to send one of his staff down to the shops to buy him salt and pepper for his lunch. And that's not going to happen.
That's a little bit 1950s, isn't it?
Yeah,
I need you to go to the shop and get me coffee and salt and pepper.
Yeah, it was very important that the cultural fit was right. And people didn't want to leave us. Once they started working with us, they really did enjoy being part of it. In the earlier days, to me, it have always been very important that there's a respect throughout the business.
Yeah.
And we had the business in around Pittwater.
Yeah.
Brooke and I had a boat, and we were not very often able to use this boat. And the boat could have 12 people on board. And I've always been of the use, if you have something beautiful, you got to use it. There's no point in just having it sitting there on the water. So having, at the time, I think we had about 60, 70 staff. So we got a skipper who could sail the boat, who could then do maintenance in the building when he wasn't on the water. And then if the weather was good, we would put up a notice board in the lunchroom saying the boat is going out today 5:15 and put your name down.
Oh.
So people from all departments could just put their name down, and then every day when the weather was nice, the boat would go out. And that was a wonderful way for people across the different departments to meet. So whether you were head of marketing or picking the jewellery in the picking room, everybody was out there and just meeting each other, enjoying the beautiful Pittwater and having a chat. And so friendships were built right across the business. And that was very valuable in terms of just having that fundamental respect for one another. And we would always have morning tea on a Wednesday morning where different departments were bringing cake in, and then everybody meets and have a chat for about half an hour and just catch up. And so there was a really good connection across the company with amongst everyone. Yeah, which was nice to see.
Yeah, that is beautiful and so important. I've learnt that. Yeah, the culture is really important.
Want to save your soul? Review us on Apple Podcast.
You've grown the company, super successful. You've grown this wonderful team with a beautiful culture and values. What was it? Because at some stage you decided to exit the company. So what was it that made you want to do that?
So when Pandora was bought by a private equity company, Pandora in Denmark didn't actually own any of the international distributions. So they wanted to buy some of that distribution back. They wanted to take the 5 key markets back.
Yeah.
So in our situation, they wanted to buy us back. The UK market, which was started by a guy at the same time as I started, he hadn't really done a lot for the brand, so they cancelled his distribution agreement because, as I was saying early on, that distribution agreement wasn't really worth the paper it was written on. And Pandora in Denmark could just have said, look, thanks a lot, but we are going to now cancel your distribution. And they could have done that, and we wouldn't have had a leg to stand on. But they wanted to buy us out and take over the distribution. And part of that negotiation were that I had to stay on for 2 years. And I ended up staying on for 3 years. When Pandora bought us back, they also established a global management team because at the time Pandora were in I think 65 markets across the world, and it was quite different how the market were doing. Like, for example, in our market 20% of our turnover was gold, whereas in the US 3% of the turnover gold. So it was still very much up to the individual markets how they were working with the brand, and obviously being a global brand, it's very important that you have one brand, one voice across the global market. So I was invited to sit on the global management team, which meant that I had to travel to Europe once a month. And I did that pretty much for 3 years. So once a month.
That's tiring.
that was tiring. And we were listed on the stock exchange, I think, in 2010. And then that changed quite a bit because it then was very much about how do we deliver the next 3 months as opposed to there's a longer strategy of the brand. And I did find that a bit difficult because I was very passionate about the staff and the stock and the customers and the whole business, and then constantly just go from quarter to quarter and just all about deliver the next quarter. I thought maybe it's time for me to move on, and I was tired having to travel every month. That was really challenging as well with still having 3 small children, so I thought maybe it's time for me to go.
Do you know, 1 year, I think it was 2018, I went overseas 5 times and I was exhausted, and that was only 5 times. But at the end of the year, I said to Craig, Actually, must have been 2019 it was, because I said to Craig at the end of the year, do you know what? I'm actually exhausted. I don't want to do any travel whatsoever in 2020, and then a COVID hit. You get what you wish for, people.
Yeah,
you get what you put out. Yeah, so I can imagine going over every month, especially with kids. That would be tough.
Yeah, no, it was tricky. Yes, I thought it was time for me to go, but also a very difficult decision though, because I loved it and had such close relationship with the staff and with the store owners, and it was difficult. And I mean, if I could give any advice, I think that I had not expected, I wasn't prepared for the transition between being super busy and then 1st of July 2012, suddenly no emails coming in, there was no phone calls, I was just...
Yeah.
And then it's like, gee, what do I do now?
Yes.
And I wish I'd been better prepared for that and had...
So what do? You just get up every day and kind of make a cuppa?
No, but then I way too quickly try to rush into to try to do the same thing again.
Yeah.
And you can't really do that.
Yeah.
But I tried to do that, but that was difficult.
Yeah.
And I wish I'd taken some time out to really try to identify, so what is it I want to do? What am I good at? How do I make sure I focus on what I'm good at and maybe leave some of the other things and not focus on that? You know, I should have spent some more time on that.
Yeah.
And I think that's when I, in 2016, got involved with the vineyard and suddenly saw, hey, there's a whole heap of elements around what this vineyard has to offer, which I really, really love doing.
Yeah.
Maybe I can just make this my new line of work.
Yeah.
And then make this working really well and just focus on that and not think I have to do 20 different things.
And it's really interesting, like you're talking and I so resonate with that. And I know it's very different. I run a small charity. I don't run a big multinational jewellery company or anything like that. But, you know, we have a team now and I have really had to think, what's my role now? And that team has taken some of the workload from me. And so I have found that transition kind of difficult, and I've gone from being busy, you know, up on the computer at 11 o'clock at night and on weekends and thinking about it constantly, to going, I have space now. What do I do with that?
Yeah.
What do you do with the space? And then it's like, I need to fill the space. How am I going to fill it? And then it's like, no, actually, you need to not fill the space.
Yeah.
You just need to sit with it. I totally get that.
Want to fill your soul with more? Go to thesistercode.com.
Okay, so Karin, tell us about the story of how you founded Winmark.
My partner, John, he had come across this vineyard in the Hunter Valley. And I'd been away overseas. And when I got back, he said, I found this really nice vineyard in the Hunter Valley we should go and have a look at. And I'm like, we're not buying a vineyard. I couldn't see how we would have time to go to the Hunter Valley a lot and start engaging with the vineyard. And so, no, but we really should go and have a look. And if you were ever to have a vineyard, this is a really good vineyard.
Because it was Paul's Rock.
This is Paul's Rock and Broke.
And Paul's Rock is a fabulous vineyard.
Yeah, but at the time, I had no idea about that. I just kept saying, but we're not going to get a vineyard. But nevertheless, over that weekend, we still agreed that we were to go up and just having a look at this vineyard. So at 11 o'clock on Monday morning, we drive in and have a look at this vineyard. And I fall completely in love with this vineyard.
Yeah.
And we placed a ridiculous offer. And within the hour, they rang back and said, congratulations, you have got yourself a vineyard.
And just like that, you're a winery owner.
Yeah, from not having a vineyard to within literally 3 days, now very much having a vineyard. Initially, we really just got it to have that for family and friends.
Yeah.
But as we start spending time there, we realized that it was known for making really good Chardonnay. I mean, the property was in a very poor condition when we got it.
I remember
AGL had owned it for 5 years and really done nothing good to the grapes, to the wines. So we had to pull out some blocks and we had to replant some blocks and engaged a really strong team around us to help us with that. We got David Grosser, a local vineyard manager, on board, and Liz Riley, which is an award-winning viticulturist, on board. And between the two, they have done a remarkable job in bringing that vineyard back to life, which is wonderful to see. But as we started spending time there, we realized there really is a lot of potential here. And I also very much feel if you have something really beautiful, you got to share it. If you can't fully use it yourself, it's sort of a waste just to sit there. You got to widen it out and let other people come and have that stunning feeling of what it is like to be on the property.
Yeah.
So things have developed over 5 years. So about a year ago, we opened a cellar door. And that became kind of a natural extension of starting to growing the grapes and realizing, hey, there's a really good Chardonnay here. So how do you get your Chardonnay out? We got to have a cellar door.
Absolutely.
So now we have a cellar door, and then we were initially open 3 days a week, but that's not good enough, because what about the people who come in the middle of the week to Broke? They can't try our Chardonnay. Oops, we got to be open 7 days, and now we open 7 days.
Yeah.
And been open the last 6 months every day. But then with that also came, maybe we need to do something more. And we do only have our Chardonnay. I mean, we do beautiful cheese platters, but maybe we need to add some more to the experience. And again, because the property is so beautiful, and I love sculptures, we thought, let's do a sculpture park.
When I was there, you took us on a sculpture walk through the property, and it was really wonderful hearing the stories about the different sculptures and how they came to be there and what they signified.
I loved the way that we are developing the property continuously and putting more pieces in, and now our sculptures are starting to come to us as well. And the last couple of sculptures we have put in is sculptures which are actually for sale, which are owned by some sculptors, but they would like to have a place where they can display their work. So with that also came that we really should have an art gallery.
Yes.
And I've always loved art. And as you would have seen when you visited us, that there's art everywhere in the houses.
Yeah.
But there was no more walls. So I needed a space where we could have some art which we could sell, and so we could keep going out and exploring, finding new art and bringing that to Winmark. So our art gallery have been open now for about five months.
Yeah.
And great to see people are now coming also because of the gallery.
Yeah.
The sculpture walk.
Well, it's a very special place. I love the rocks there. I can see why it was initially called Paul's Rock, and I know that there was a rock there. It was named after a convict.
Yeah, so back in the early 1800s, there was a convict called Richard Pools, and the legend goes that he used to sleep in that very large hollow out towards the road, and that's why it's called Paul's Rock.
Yeah, well, it's a very special place. I know I felt so at peace there. Yeah. You know what I love about you? You seem to have like an inner drive and an inner confidence, because you built Pandora, you buy a winery, and it's like, okay, I need to share this. And, you're creating this amazing brand. It's beautiful Shardy. I know I love a Shardy. The Reserve Shardy is my favourite. I've actually got that in the wine club. It's my delivery. You can join the wine club at Winmark.
Yeah,
amazing
absolutely.
Shardies. But you must have that inner drive, that inner confidence to actually create a brand, to create a product. And then, when I was at Winmark, you had gone and visited all the wineries in Broke and created the Broke Wine Trail to actually get people to the area. It's like, you could have just bought a winery and kind of went there every weekend or moved there and just hung out. But no, you're like creating and growing and bringing people in with you again. What is it about you? What qualities do you have, do you think, to make all that happen? Because so many people have ideas all the time. Yeah. But they don't necessarily make that happen. I'm
a very hard taskmaster on myself. And when I get an idea of something, I want to pretty much implement it yesterday, which can be a bit tough also on the team around me. I don't know. I think I am definitely an entrepreneur at heart. And I'm always thinking, what could we do better? How can we improve? What else can we do? And with the wine trail, for example, I saw a wine trail in Provence, and I thought, gee, there's got to be a wine trail in Broke Fortwich. And then when I came back and started to talk to some of the vineyard about it, they said, oh yeah, now we talked about that for 15 years. And then Karin came to the valley and made that happen. No, then I talked to Anne from Greenway because I was still very new, and I felt, that's not going to go down very well. I can't be the one pushing for this, but I can certainly be in the background helping, making it happen. And Anne Greenway was also very keen to make this happen. So we very much worked together on that. Yeah. We have a wonderful graphic designer which works with us, and she did beautiful job, and I'm sure you've all seen our Broke Forward's wine trail today, which is an awesome wine trail to visit.
Yep.
And very much hoping that people are coming out to see us because there's so many great locations to visit in Broke Forward. But I did work on getting this wine trail happening almost a year before we had our own cellar door, and I think that a lot of the vineyards out there actually got respect for the fact that, like in my area, got respect for the fact that I spent time on making that happen, and also spent 3 days driving around with the wine trail map to everyone right across the Hunter Valley, because I really wanted it to get out there.
Yeah.
Well, knowing that I couldn't take any guests anyway.
Yeah.
It took almost a year before my cellar door opened, but it for me it wasn't about here and now. It was about getting the wine trail established.
It's like seeing the future, seeing ahead, and making Broke Forward a destination.
Yeah.
So that and people understand that there are so many wineries there, and not just wineries. There's like the soap shop down the road,
so many great places to visit.
Let's get soulful on social media. Search the Sister Code Facebook page and follow us on Instagram.
So, big question. What have you learned on this whole crazy life journey that you've been on? Because you've done amazing things.
When you are facing a big project, rather being overwhelmed by sort of the enormity of it, try to break it down into small bites and pieces which you can then manage.
Yeah.
Because it can be a bit daunting if you're looking at it as there's a big picture. And I think when we first bought Winmark, when we didn't have the visions of what it looks like today, but it has evolved. You know, it's okay sometimes to embark on something new and not have the whole roadmap panned out.
Do you know
a lot of people probably disagree on that, but I think
the same. I'm the same. I believe in unfolding.
Yeah.
Because people go, what's your 5-year plan? And I kind of go, we don't really have one, but actually we're about finding the gaps, we're about helping our women and about opportunities coming and being able to recognise those and take those opportunities, and that it will unfold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. It doesn't always have to be 100% planned.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the magic happens in the unplanned.
Yeah. No, I'm a bit, I actually, I do live a bit like that too, I've got to say.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, don't believe when anyone tells you that you can't do it. I think if you have a will to do it, and you are breaking it down fine enough, then just chip away at it, and little by little, you can actually achieve a huge amount. And admittedly, when I started Pandora back there in the garage, I had no idea it was going to grow to what it grew to, and it was very much like one day took the next, and a new opportunity, let's run with that, and then another opportunity presented itself, and then let's run with that. And I think one of the advantages I had over maybe some of the markets where it was an established jewellery distributor who took it was I didn't know what you were supposed to do or not do. Yeah. I was just running with lots of different ways of putting the brand out there, and some of them was certainly not the traditional way of doing it. Yeah. But I put the thing on its head. Yeah. And then just ran with any possible opportunity I could think of. And some worked more than others, but collectively they really worked. And I think what I'm doing with Winmark, I'm not necessarily following a script book. I'm very much following my intuition, and if I get an idea, I want to run with it, and I run with it like now.
I love that. I totally believe in that intuition. It's guided me so well. Yeah. If you tune into that, I love that. I kind of love that you didn't go, okay, so I really mapped out like a 5 to 10 year plan, and this is what we're going to achieve. It's like, you know what, just let's let this happen and follow your inner guidance, and it'll work out. And because it totally has worked out for you.
But when I was working with my business coach back there, what must be 12 years ago now, doing Pandora, and the very last session, she wanted me to listen to this CD, and then I had to think of what's happening in the future. Where are you at in 10 years? I could not do that. Yeah. And I went back to her and said, I'm sorry, I can't do that. The closest I got, and I said that to her, is that I feel I'm sitting somewhere on a veranda and looking out over a beautiful garden, but that was as far as I could go.
And it happened.
So somehow, in a weird and wonderful way, that happened.
I love it. I actually find that so refreshing.
It doesn't have to all be mapped out.
I love that. And that's coming from this amazing Karin Adcock, who literally dominated Australia with the Pandora market. I love it. And now Winmark Wines. Okay, lastly, my friend, what have you learned about yourself?
I'm actually an introvert, extrovert. I find that when I'm in a space where I'm comfortable and where I know what I'm doing, when I was working with Pandora and whenever I was in charge of an event, for example, I would 100% be the host and very happy to be there and hosting everyone. But if I come into an environment where I don't really know my way around, I don't know a lot of people, and I don't quite know what the subject is, quite humble and quite happy just to sit in the corner and just sort of try to work out what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't have a need for being the person.
In the spotlight,
no,
like, look at me.
No. But when we have guests coming to Winmark and I want to really make sure that they have the best possible experience, I really take charge and I want to tell them, and I'm excited about sharing what we're doing there, but I'm not doing that because I want to be in the center, but I'm doing that because I want to make sure that they have the best possible experience they can have. So just been interesting sort of going along the way that there will also be often where I would just be sitting in a corner and quite happy just to sit there in the corner and nobody knows who I am and that suits me perfectly fine.
Yeah. Well, and that's just self-awareness, isn't it? And understanding and being okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Karin. You're awesome. Such a soulful sister. I love it. Now, for anybody who's listening, one of the things that off air I'm going to have a chat to Karin about is I'm really keen to book a Hey Soul Sista private lunch out at Winmark. I'm going to talk to Karin about that. If you are interested in buying a ticket to come along to that, email me at Melissa at the Sista Code, so that's THESISTA code CODE.com, and let me know and I can be in touch with further details. Karin, thank you so much for coming and sharing your super inspiring story.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yay.
Thanks for listening to Hey Soul Sista with Mel Histon. What would help you on your crazy life journey? Email Melissa at thesistacode.com.